Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Mr. Bobden or Malika, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to knit pants. I'm trying to find my pants. So I recently just finished these knit pants and I was going to actually post a knit with me video and just like showing you guys how I knit pants for the first time without a pattern, but then I realized that a lot of people would probably be asking me how I did it and asking me for a tutorial. So I was like, instead of posting that as a knit with me, I will post a tutorial for you guys and show you guys how I was able to knit these pants without a pattern and just showing you guys what I did. So this tutorial really isn't going to be your normal tutorial because I'm not going to be showing you guys how to knit or do any other methods. Like, you will just have to come in knowing the basic knowledge of knitting. I won't be decreasing, so really you're just gonna have to know how to knit in a round, do ribbing, bind off. You're also gonna have to know how to sew. You'll also need to know how to do the long tail cast on, and you'll have to know how to knit off on another set of needles, and you'll have to know how to transfer stitches to another set of needles. Other than that, I do not do any decreases or increases or anything like that. That's essentially it. So any person with the basic knowledge of knitting will be able to do these pants. I would say it's definitely beginner friendly because you don't have to do any crazy techniques, just normal knitting techniques that you should already know. So for this pants, I actually do not know how many skeins you guys will need because the first pants will be an experiment. So that's why you really don't know how much you'll need until you just do it. So I would recommend buying the cheapest yarn you can, maybe about 10 balls of it, because I used 5 balls of Impeccable and that was around 935 yards, and I'm a small. I would say that would be like a small medium, so you guys can go based off that, and then hopefully after you finish the pants you'll know exactly how much you'll need for next time, so you wouldn't have to just buy so much yarn. And I think that's it. I'm going to teach you guys how to add elastic in the waistband, so that's not something you're going to have to learn or like know before, because I'll teach you guys how I do that and my method of adding elastic to a waistband. That's really it. Super easy, and hopefully you guys will be able to knit your own pants after watching this video. So for materials, you will obviously need a knitting needle set, circulars. You're going to need shorties, the short knitting needles, the circular ones. You're going to need a measuring tape. You're going to need a row counter. This is optional. I didn't use a row counter. I just used my measuring tape and just measured along the way, but some people like having exact round counts and row counts, so if you want that you can use a row counter. And then you're gonna need a stitch marker, and obviously you're going to need scissors, which I can't find. Well, you're gonna need scissors, and that's pretty much it. No, that's not it. You're also going to need elastic, because this is the most important part of the knit pants, because having this, that means you don't have to worry about sizing down for your ribbing and trying to make sure it fits around your waist. It doesn't matter as long as you have this elastic. So I got this from Amazon. I'll link where I got it. This is 1 inch elastic and it's 32 yards. I did not know it would be this big, but I'm glad because I'm going to be making a lot of pants, so that's perfect for me. You're also going to need a needle and thread because you're gonna have to sew the elastic down, so you're gonna have to know how to sew. I think I mentioned that already. And you'll need a safety pin. The yarn I'm gonna be using is this Craft Smart yarn in these 2 colors just because I wanted something a little different, and I'm gonna be using a 6mm for the pants, but for these I used a 5.5mm with this Impeccable yarn in the color Rainbow Bright. I'll put both of these I'll put both of these yarns in the description below so you guys can get them if you want. And that's it. And now I'm going to show you guys how to get started. Yeah. So let's get it. So I know a lot of people are really confused on how I figure out how many stitches to cast on, and I'm going to show you the method I use. So I'm going to be using this worsted weight yarn, and I already started actually, but then I realized that I wanted to make it a tutorial, so I stopped. But this is actually what I'm going to be showing you guys everything with. I'm just showing you guys how many stitches to cast on with this color so you guys will know what to do. So when I'm using this medium weight yarn, I know that I need to cast on approximately more than 40 stitches. And to start off, I just cast on the front half of stitches first, and then I double that number. So I'll only cast on until it fits around this front half, and then I'll double that number because I know it'll fit around the back half. So I'm basically just figuring out how many stitches to cast on for the front half of my shorts. And like I said, I cast on more than 40 stitches when I am using worsted weight yarn. So that's what I'm gonna start off with. I'm a small, so if you know you're medium or large, I recommend that you cast on about 50 or 60 stitches starting off at first and then going on from there. So I'm going to use the long tail cast on method and start off by casting on 40 stitches. And since you don't know how many stitches you're going to cast on, just take a lot of yarn. Just take a lot, and then you can cut it, because you can always use the waste yarn for another project. So since you don't know how many stitches you're going to cast on, just keep going until you have a lot, since this is the long tail cast on method. So after that, I'm just going to start by casting on 40 stitches at first. So once I cast on 40 stitches, it is time to measure. And when I measure from my torso, because that's where I want my pants to start. Like, that's where I want my waistband to be. If you want your waistband to start at your hips, that's where you should start measuring. So I measure starting from here. But if you want to start from your hips, you can actually start measuring from your hips. And what I do is I just slide my stitches to the actual cable. I don't stretch them out. I just leave them how it is, and then I just put it against me and then just see. You want your stitches to end up right here on your sides, so you know it's exactly half of your torso. So obviously I need to cast on more stitches, and so after this I start by casting on by 10. So since I know 40 doesn't work for me, I'll cast on 10 more, measure until it fits exactly side to side like how I want it. So you see how I have no stitches here, so I need to cast on more. I need to cast on more because it doesn't reach here. You want your stitches to reach each side, each point. And so obviously I'm going to cast on 10 more and then go from there until it reaches side to side like that. If you do have a bigger butt and you're afraid that it might not fit, what you're going to do is measure around your butt with that. So you're going to measure like this. So you're going to measure like this instead of measuring around your waist. I do feel like once you measure around your waist, it should fit over your butt, because the pants I made, it's super stretchy. It even fits my sister, and she's thicker than I am. She has a bigger butt than I do, and she was still able to fit it nicely. I'll put a picture of how she looks, and she wears more of a medium in pants, and she was still able to fit my pants I made for a small person. So you can do that. That's another method if you want to, but I do feel like you'll be fine just measuring your waist. Another method you can do is cast on stitches until it fits around your leg like this, and then you'll really know if it'll fit around your leg. I didn't do that method. I just used the halfway and then doubling that. But you can do that as well if you want to make sure it's gonna go over your leg. Anyway, so I ended up casting on 60 stitches total. It looks like this on me, and as you can see, it's side to side just the way I want it. And then after that, I'm going to double it. So I cast it on 60, which means I'm going to cast on 60 more because we're going to be knitting in a round. So I'm going to have a total of 120 stitches on my cable. And so that's what you want to do. As soon as you figure out the number of stitches you cast on for the front half of your torso, you're going to double that number and then cast on that double number, and then you'll have a total. You should have 100 plus stitches when you're going to start knitting the ribbing. So I'm gonna have a total of 120 stitches, and then when I split that for my pants, I'll have 60 stitches for one pant leg and 60 stitches for the other. So after you cast on your stitches, you're going to join your work in a round and then start ribbing, which is knit one, purl one, and then it should start looking like this once you get started. So I'm going to do my ribbing for a total of 4 inches, because after that I'm going to fold it down so we get that nice puffy waistband look. So I'm going to continue my ribbing, knit one, purl one, for a total of 4 inches until I'm able to fold it down like this. And I'm going to show you guys how it looks after I finish 4 inches, and then I'll tell you guys what to do after that. So once I have around 3 to 4 inches of ribbing, I tend to do 3 because I cannot continue ribbing for the life of me. I do not like doing ribbing for a long time. So once I hit 3, I tend to stop there because the elastic is 1 inch. So when I fold it, if I do 3 inches and I fold it down, that gives me 1.5 inches. So I will have enough space to move it around in there anyway. So that's good for me, good enough for me. So now it's time to start the body, and to do that you're gonna want to measure first. And what you're gonna measure is a pants. Our pants is a pant. Is a pair of pants. You're gonna measure a pair of pants, and you're gonna want to measure pants that you like and that fit you well, because that is going to determine how long it's going to be before the leg splits, before the pant splits. Okay guys, so once you find pants that fit you, that you like, you're going to take them and measure. So you're going to measure right below whatever waistband your pants has. So you're gonna start the measurement right after this line, and then you're going to measure up until the pant splits. So this pant splits at 8 inches. I don't like how these pants fit, so I'm not going based off that. The pants I wore, it split at 6 inches, so that's what I do my pants based off of. So that's what you're gonna do your pants based off of. And I'll show you again so you guys can see. So again, you're going to take the measuring tape and measure right below that waistband line, and then measure up until that split. And then that's what you're gonna knit. So once you guys get that measurement, that's how much you're going to knit before your own pants split. So I'm going to start in stockinette around the ribbing and work up 6 inches. That's what I do, well, 6.5-ish inches. And then I'm going to split for my leg holes, pant legs. And then I'll show you guys what to do after that. Okay guys, so once you reach however many inches you're supposed to knit, your project should look like this. So again, I knitted 6 inches because when I measured the pants that actually fit me well, it was about 6.5 inches. So that's how much I knitted, and that's how it's gonna be before I split for the legs. So now it is time to split for the legs, and that is where my shorties, these needles, come in to play. So these are the 16-inch cables, the small ones, and this is what I use for the pant leg. So since I casted on 120 stitches total, I'm going to find the halfway point, which is 60, and then put a stitch marker there. So I placed my stitch marker on that halfway point. So now I have 60 stitches on one side of the stitch marker and 60 stitches on the other side. And now it is time to knit off until I get to that point. And you're basically just going to take your other cable, knitting set, and then just knit normally until you get to that stitch marker. And then I'll show you how to do that. So these are my regular needles that I've been knitting with to get to this length, and now I'm going to take the small 16-inch needle and knit off until this stitch marker. And to do that, I just slide my beginning of round stitch marker onto this and then just knit. Now I reached that halfway point, and so I should have 60 stitches on this set of needles. And so now your project looks like this because you have two sets of needles on the pants, because this was the original set we started off with, and then we knitted off the 60 stitches on this set. So we're going to start working on this side, but I'm going to transfer these stitches onto another 16-inch cable because I want that to be on a smaller cable. This is 22 inches, so I don't want my other side just resting on the 22-inch. I want it on the 16-inch because that's what I'm using on this side. So I'm just going to transfer these stitches onto my 16-inch cable, and then I will start working on the other side. So now my other side is resting on a 16-inch, which is exactly what I wanted, and now I can start working on this side. So to start on this side, we're going to cast on 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and now I'm going to place the beginning of round stitch marker right here because that is where our beginning of round will be, and then I'm just going to knit like normal. And you're gonna knit around the whole thing until we get back to the beginning of the round. Now we're back to the beginning and it looks like this, and we're just gonna keep knitting in this small circumference until you reach your desired length. So you could keep knitting until your pants reaches this length, so these would be shorts. I knitted a total of 4 inches for these shorts. And if you want actual pants, you can keep knitting until it reaches your desired length. For me, this was a total of 31 inches because that's how long I wanted it to be on me. But you can do whatever you want. You can do it until it reaches halfway down your thigh, past your knee. You can continue knitting for however long you want. You're just gonna keep knitting, keep knitting, keep knitting until it reaches a length that you're comfortable with. For me, for this tutorial, I'm just going to knit short. I'm gonna knit about 6 inches because I don't want to have to make pants again. And I'm gonna show you guys how to measure and where to measure, but you're gonna have to knit maybe like about 2 inches before you can see where to measure. Maybe 1 to 2 inches before you can see where to measure, and I'll show you guys how to measure your project when it's time. For now, I'm just gonna continue knitting until I reach about 6 inches, and then I'll show you guys how to measure. So once you continue knitting, you're gonna start seeing this section appear right here, and that is where you're going to measure. So you're gonna just put your measuring tape right here and then measure that. So that's about 2 inches plus, almost 2.5. And I want to get to 6 inches. So I'm gonna continue knitting until my work reaches 6 inches. So I reached 6 inches with my pant leg, and now I'm just going to end off with 4 rounds of ribbing, and that's just going to be knit 1, purl 1. So once you finish the 4 rounds of ribbing, it's time to bind off. And to bind off, we're going to bind off in pattern, which means you're just going to knit and purl and then bind off and then knit whatever's next and purl whatever's next, instead of just knitting them all and binding off that way. So you won't need your stitch marker anymore. So you're just going to knit the first stitch, purl the second one since it's a purl, and then bind off that way. The next stitch is a knit, so we're going to knit that, bind off. The next stitch is a purl, so we're going to purl that, and then bind off. And you're just going to repeat that until you have 1 more stitch left. So once there's 1 more stitch left, you're just gonna pull that a little bit and then cut it. And then I just tie a little knot here. Like that. And then it should look like this. After that, I take my needle and then I close that little gap with it. So it's like this, and then I just go in and just close that little gap up. Until it starts closing and looks like this. Then I just tie that off and then cut it, and then you're done. So since I did shorts, my pant leg looks like this, but obviously if you're gonna do your pants longer like this, it will look totally different because yours will be long. You will not have to decrease or anything or increase. You just literally keep knitting until you get to the ribbing, just like how I did with this. So nothing changes. You just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep knitting until it reaches your desired length, and then you just do the 4 rounds of ribbing and then bind off like I did. So nothing changes. It's just that I turned mine into shorts just for the sake of this video, so I don't have to actually knit pants again just to show you guys what to do. I just wanted to keep it short and simple. So now it's time to move on to the next leg, and if by now you didn't realize, there will be a hole in the middle, and it'll look like this once both legs are done. So there will be like this hole right here, and that's what we're gonna sew up at the end once you finish the other pant leg. So now I'm just going to take my stoppers off and put my needles on. Just switch that real quick, and then I will show you guys how to start the next pant leg. So to start the other side, it's a little different from the side we just finished because the yarn isn't there, so we're gonna have to attach that. And to do that, you're just going to take the yarn and have a little bit of a tail like this. So it'll look like this. And then you're just going to loop it on here, making sure the tail is on this side of the project, not this side. So making sure the tail is over here. And then you're just going to take the first stitch and then just pull it over. Like you basically just knitted it off. And then that's how you attach that. And so now you'll be able to cast on the 6 stitches like we did last time, making sure that this doesn't move. So you might want to pinch that a little bit and then just cast on the 6 stitches. So now I place my beginning of round stitch marker right here, and then I'm just going to start knitting like I did on the other side, and then continue that for as long as I did the other pant leg. And then I'll do my ribbing like I did and then bind off. So once your shorts or pants looks like this, it can either be long or short. I just did mine short, obviously, I told you guys. Anyway, now it is time to do the waistband and sew up this hole in the middle, but we're going to sew up the hole in the middle first. And to sew up the hole, you can either slip stitch it with the crochet hook or you can sew it down with a darning needle. So the way I sew it up, I just take my darning needle and just weave the yarn through there. Then I just take like a kind of long piece and then I cut that. I definitely don't need it long, but I just like knowing I have enough yarn to use. So, but the hole isn't big, so you're not gonna need a lot, but this is how much I take. So I have my shorts like this, inside out, and then I just put it on me like this, and then have the hole facing me like this. So once my shorts are facing this way, I kind of turn them, I turn them to the side like this, and then I pinch the opening like this, and then I literally just start sewing. And then I start sewing, so I just do that by seeing where my opening is and going kind of right before that, putting my needle through, and then making sure I leave a little tail like that. And then I'm just going to just start sewing back and forth like that. So I just went back around with it, just going in and out like I did. Going this way, I did the same thing going that way, just so it's more secure. And then you'll have 2 tails left on the right side or whatever side you started on. So with that, I just make sure they're both the same length. Cut that. And then I just tie that together like this. And then just cut that as well. Actually, you want to tie all 3 of those strands together. I only did 2, but you want to actually add this one in. Now I'm just going to tie this one in a knot since I didn't tie it in with these 2, and then that'll be it. But for you guys, try to tie all 3 of these together and then cut it. So once you're finished, your shorts should look like this in the middle, all sewn up. Now it's time to move on to the waistband. So for the waistband, you're also going to flip your shorts in or pants inside out so that it's on the wrong side. And now we're going to bring out your stitch markers. So you're going to start at the beginning, which is right here, and then you're just going to fold it down like this. And then take your stitch marker and put it like about 2 inches away from the beginning. So you're just going to put it like that. And then you're going to do that around the entire waistband, just locking it in place so that the ribbing is directly in half. See how I'm placing it right here? Because that's where the ribbing is going to. Because the ribbing is going to look like this when we're done. So you're basically folding it in half and then stitch marking it down, because then we're going to sew this waistband down. So again, you're just folding the ribbing down so that it's laying right on top of each other, because then we're going to sew that down. So now it's time to get your darning needle again and your yarn. And now we're going to need a long strand. So what I do is actually just take my yarn and then kind of wrap it around my project. And then do that twice, so I know I have enough yarn to sew the waistband down. Then I just cut that end and then I tie a knot at the end. I kind of do that like 3 times, tying the knot at the end. And then I just thread this through the darning needle. Now to sew down, you're going to want to sew in every single stitch. So I'm going to sew down this part and also this part. So I'm not going to skip the bars. I'm going to sew down the bars, sew down this, sew down the bars, sew down this, sew down the bars, so that when I am done, it's not tight and it's still super stretchy. So I start off just kind of weaving this through so my knot gets stuck on one of these. So my knot's stuck on that right there. So I know it's not going anywhere. And then I start right there, just start sewing down, going through that bar. Then I look on the other side and I see that I went through that bar right here. So now I know I'm going to go through the other side. right here. And then you should go through the other side as well. You're going to keep doing that until you get to this last stitch marker, because you want to leave a little gap, because that's where we're going to weave the waistband through. So you want to stop at least like 2 inches or so and leave a gap, because we're going to come back to this hole. So once you're back about 2 inches before the beginning, it is time to bring out your elastic. Now it's time for you guys to measure your elastic, and to do that, you're just going to take your roll, or however long your elastic is, and you're going to wrap it around your torso like this, come all the way around, and then give it a good tug. You want to give it a tug because you want your waistband super cinched. You don't want it to be exactly like this. You don't want it super loose. You want to pull it, get it nice and tug, but not too tight, but just enough so that you know it's going to be nice and cinched. And then once you feel like it's good enough, it's nice and tight, you're just going to leave like about 1 inch of a tail and then cut. So you'll want to cut right where my finger is after you leave this little tail end. Leave the tail end and then cut where your finger is. For me, I already know that my waistband measures 23 inches, so I'm just going to measure that out and then cut. But for the first time, you're going to want to do that method. And then for the next time you do shorts or pants, you'll know whatever measurement you were, since you already did it this time. So this is how my 23 inches looks. And then when I put it around me, you can see that it's not all the way. It doesn't fit me all the way around because I have to pull it a little tight to get it snug. So you want about 5 inches in between so that you know it's nice and snug. So when you sew it together, it's nice and tight. And you're gonna also need a safety pin. So you're gonna take your safety pin and hook it like hook it away from the beginning of it, because you don't want it at the very edge. You want it a little away from the end point. Wow, this is tough. And then you're just going to pin it so it looks like this. Then after that, you're going to just slide the elastic in here. You want to make sure the elastic is straight and that it's not turning or anything. So you're going to slide it in here. And then you're just going to pinch it and then just drag that elastic around the entire waistband. So you're holding that safety pin and you're basically just scrunching everything together. Scrunching it, pulling, and then doing that until the elastic gets to this end. So you're just going to scrunch your work together, grab that safety pin. You can feel the safety pin in there, and then you're just going to pull. Grab that safety pin, pull. So once your two ends meet up again, now it's time to take a needle and thread to sew these two pieces together. So I just have a short piece, nothing too long, and I'm just going to knot the end of this and then start sewing. So I can take my safety pin off now, and then I'm going to take these two ends and I'm actually going to twist them this way together and then sew that down. Once that's sewed down, I'm just going to cut that, tie this down about 3 times, and then cut that as well. And then the elastic should look like this, and then you can just tuck that in, stretch that band out like this. And now you can take this end that we dropped and then continue sewing and just closing that hole that we had. Until it is sewn closed. Now for that loose end, I just cut that, and then I just tie all of these together, and then I am done. Now you can finally flip your shorts or pants the correct way, and it will look like this when you're done. The elastic is stretchy, so you know it's gonna fit nice on your waist. The hole is all nice and closed up, so you would never know there was even a hole there. Just perfect. And that is how you literally knit pants. It's super easy, like anyone can do it. So that is exactly what I did to create these pants. And now that I showed you guys what to do, hopefully you guys will be able to create your own beautiful pants as well. And if you guys do follow my pattern and create your own pants, be sure to tag me on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, tag me at Mr. Bobbin so I can see your creations and just see everyone with their pants. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, that is all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!